Hello everyone, this is Mrs. Hennessy. Today we're going to talk about quadratic linear systems of equations, word problems. Let's get started with this first example. So this first example is from the June 2014 Regents. It is a question that was worth 6 points. And I think you'll agree with me that it really isn't all that bad. So the problem says a company is considering building a manufacturing plant. They determine the weekly production cost at site A to be A of x equals 3x squared, while the production cost at site B is B of x equals 8x plus 3, where x represents the number of products in hundreds, and A of x and B of x are the production costs in hundreds of dollars. Graph the production cost function on the set of axes below and label them site A and site B. So this is pretty simple because I'm looking at this graph and everything is all labeled for me. So there's not much for me to worry about there. My two functions are already in the nice form where the y, remember these are like fancy y's, are already by themselves, so I don't have to rearrange anything. And even better, the graph that's provided is from 0 to 4. So that's not a lot of points that we have to graph, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm not a super genius. I need my calculator for this. I'm going to start by figuring out the points for A of x. So turn this sucker on. Y equals, type in 3x squared. Remember, you can look at your graph, guys, but the numbers are kind of big, and this only goes till 10 right now, how it's set up, and my graph here is going to 50. But without even looking at the graph, I knew for sure that this was going to be a smiley face parabola, right? Because the 3 is positive, and it has an x squared, so that makes it a parabola and not a line. So second graph is really what I'm looking for, and all I need to do is write down the points from 0 to 4, because that's all this graph has for me. So I'll leave this here so that you can see it, and I'll write my list here. I just want to make sure that people know this is the A of x, and that I keep that in mind too. This is my A of x, and my x and my y I need to jot down from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the calculator tells me it should be 0, 3, 12, 27, and 48. Okay, so I've written those down. Next up is my B of x. Now I know this is a linear, I know this is a line. Let's see, its y-intercept is 3, and it's going up by 8. But I'll still use the calculator anyway. I just don't want to make any silly mistakes, and the calculator will make sure that I don't do that. So 8x plus 3 into the calculator, second graph, and again, this is for my B of x, and I'm going to write down these points. So now I've got the points that I need to plot. What you should notice before you even plot these points is that for both tables, 3 is with 27. So they both have a common point. All right. And the question's going to ask you about that as we go on, but it's just nice to see it in the tables so that you know what to expect when you're graphing. All right, so now we have to graph these. You want to make sure you understand your graph. I understand that you might be thinking that maybe these are all important here. They're not. Sometimes they are. Okay, but really I'm just worried about 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. They've spread these out for a reason so that the graph looks nice and pretty when we're done. This here you'll see 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. These little lines are all going up by 2 here, okay? So that actually is important this time because you can see we've got things like 3, 12, 27 to graph, which are going to be in between, okay? So I'm going to start with this a of x. I'm going to graph that. Really important, it does say that we do have to label these, so I don't want to forget to label it site A and site B, because I will lose points if I don't do that. So, all right, so here's A. It's 0, 0, and you can go ahead of me if you'd like. 1, 3 would be right here. 2, 12. 3, 27. Let's see, 2, 4, 6. It's going to be like in between there. And 448. Oh, that's right on here. So we're going by 2s. Okay, the moment of truth. Wish me luck. Sometimes it's hard to connect these all in a nice way. Now, this is not a line, right? This is definitely not a line, so do not use a ruler to connect these. That would be very, very bad. Okay, so here I go. I've messed this up before. Let's see if I can make this look nice and curved the best that I can. Ooh. Okay, not bad. Not too bad. All right. So I definitely want to label this site A, which they told me to do. Site A. Okay. All right, the next one, site B. Let's go ahead and graph that. Now I know that they have a common point. I know it's this point right here, so I just want to make sure I don't forget about that. So this point right here should be the same for those. Okay, so 0, 3. Again, you can get ahead of me here. You don't have to wait for me. 111, 219, 327 I already have, and 435 is right here. Now, if you have a ruler or any sort of straight edge, you absolutely want to use your ruler or straight edge for this. Okay, anytime you graph a line, you want to use your straight edge. So I'm going to connect these dots and just draw my line. And I'll make sure everyone knows that this is site B. It doesn't matter where I label it as long as it's there. Site B. Okay, so I've done everything that they asked me to do. Graph the production costs on the set of axes below and label them. All right, all set, all done. Looks good. Now we're going to answer a couple questions about these. You want to keep your answers as simple as possible. Don't overthink it. This is how you can get full credit on this. Okay, so the first part says state the positive values of x for which the production costs at the two sites are equal. Explain how you determined your answer. Well, the keyword here is equal, and it says your values of x. So don't get too crazy. So when are these equal? Well, they're equal when x equals 3. Okay, that's it. Don't worry about this hundreds. Don't worry about that hundreds. It's just the positive values of x. Now it says explain how you determined your answer. There's a lot of things that you could say. Here's the easiest thing. It's because that is where a of x and b of x intersect. Right? That's how I knew it was 3, because they intersect there. You can mention your tables if you want, but just pick one or the other. You could also say because the values for 3 in both tables are the same. Okay. You can mention 27. You don't have to. All right. They didn't ask you for that. All right. And then the next one says if the company plans on manufacturing 200 products per week, which site should they use? justify your answer. Okay, so, okay, 200 products. Remember, these are in hundreds, so I'm going to look right at this 2. Okay, so here's the deal. I can go with the curve, site A, or I can go with the line, site B. Okay, and I think you'll agree it makes sense to go with site A. That's going to be cheaper. Okay, so again, you want to keep this as simple as possible to get full credit. Which site should they use? Site A. Because the cost is lower. Again, you can mention more information if you want. Okay, so what you can do is you can grab these values from your table, that this for A of x it's 12 and for B of x it's 19. The problem is you want to be careful if you're going to do that, because it's not $12, it's $1,200. And it's not $19, it's $1,900. So if you don't clarify that in your answer, if you say the cost is 12 and the cost is 19, you'll lose points because that's technically not correct. Okay, so this is fine. The cost is lower. You don't have to say any more than that if you don't want to. Okay, so this was on a Regents exam. It was worth 6 points, and I think it's a very fair question. Again, it's always really, really exciting when the graph is labeled for you. It looks so pretty and nice. It's also really exciting when there's not a ton of numbers at the bottom. That means it's not as much work. All right, so brace yourselves, because the next one's going to be a little bit more work than this. Okay, let me grab that. So you'll notice on the next page, I got a graph with nothing. No, just an X and a C. So get ready. Okay. So now this next question says the price C in dollars per share of a high-tech stock has fluctuated over a 12-year period according to the equation. C equals 14 plus 12x minus x squared. Guys, this is a frowny. Okay, this is definitely a frown because it has a negative x squared. And it does look backwards. I'm used to seeing this written first. But still, no matter what order it's written, this is definitely a frowny parabola, where x is in years. The price C in dollars per share of a second high-tech stock has already shown a steady increase during the same time period according to the relationship C equals 2x plus 30. And I know that this is a line, right? This is a line with a y-intercept of 30 and a slope of 2 over 1. Now it says on the set of axes below, graph and label both equations over the interval. Oh, we haven't seen this in a while, actually. Guys, remember, if you have an interval, that means no arrows, okay? No arrows. Oh, that's important, okay? No arrows, then we'll lose points. Actually, you will notice on the problem before, I also didn't put any arrows. And again, it extended all the way through the graph, so we don't want to lose points for putting arrows when we shouldn't. Okay. All right. So then it says state all prices when stock values were the same. Okay. So I need to graph these. So I need my calculator. And just so we don't go crazy now, these are a lot of numbers to write. So from 0 to 12. So when I type this into my calculator, I do one at a time for these. 14 plus 12x minus x squared. When I type that in my calculator, first of all, again, I can hit graph, but I'm not really seeing very much. Remember, this is only going till 10, okay? And I don't care about any negative time or anything like that, negative years. That's not possible. Okay, so I'm going to write, unfortunately, okay, not my favorite question, I'm going to write all of the x values from 0 to 12. So I have to write all of this down in my table of values from 0 to 12. I'm also going to be plotting all of those values. Okay, and then it's the same deal for the line. So what I want you guys to do, please, because I understand that we don't all have calculators at home, what I want you to do is to check out my table of values, please. And I'd like you guys to pause here and write all of these down and then hit play once you've got them all written. You do want to write them where I wrote them, because we'll need to label this part of the graph and this part here. So just try to squeeze those, and I promise they're correct. They're what the calculator said. So hit pause, write all of these down, and we'll figure out a great way to graph them. Okay, I hope you have all of these written down. Now we have to graph them. First of all, let's start with my x, which is going to be here. Generally, they'll always let you know where you should plot, which should be your x and which should be your y. And in this case, our y is the c. So I want to see if I can spread this out from 0 to 12. So this will be 0. I want to see if I can spread this out from 0 to 12 so that it fits on the whole graph. Now, I tried it, it won't. So I wanted I wanted to make this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, just so it was a little bit spaced out. It didn't work. So I do have to go by ones here. Unfortunately, this is what makes these problems difficult. You'll notice that in the problem, it doesn't ask you to explain or justify or anything like that. You're going to get plenty of points by doing all of this extra work that we didn't have to do in the very first problem that we did. So, okay, so these are going to go up by ones, but I'm just going to label every 2 so that I don't have my numbers all running into each other. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's more than one correct answer here as long as you can fit the 12 in here. So if you can think of a different way to space these out and fit 0 through 12, then that's fine. Okay, now this is going to be a little more challenging. I need to look at these and try to figure out how high this needs to go. Okay, so I need to be able to see all of these values on this graph. So in this case, I see 50 being the turning point of this parabola. That's the max, so that's the highest point there. And then for this, I notice 54 is the highest point there. So, okay, remember you want to spread this out as much as you can. Now, I did this before. I went through a bunch of different scenarios. I've tried to go by 2s. It would not fit. Okay, that only got me up to 40, so that wasn't going to work. Okay, I went by 3s, which is not fun, but it did get me to 60, and that's pretty good. Okay, that's where I want to be. Guys, you can go by 5s or 10s, but that's going to make this graph really, really, really tiny, and it's going to be really hard to see the values. Also, too, actually, it's not a bad idea to see if I can figure out by the table first, because this is going to get messy, but I see 234 and 234, and I see 846 and 846. So technically I can answer this question. State all prices. I already know that answer now. Okay, so I'm going to get credit for that for sure, but I want to make sure I can get credit on this graph. So this is where they'll be intersecting. They're going to intersect in 2 spots, so they'll be the same price at 2 times. After 2 years and after 8 years, the stocks will be the same. All right, so I'm going to go by 3s, but I'm actually just going to label every other, which means it's kind of going to look like I'm going by 6s. Okay? And again, it's not the only correct way to go there. As long as you fit up to 54 and you plot each point accurately according to your graph, you will get full credit. Okay, so 6, 12, 18, 24, 32, nope, not 32, sorry, homework passed, 30, My bad. 36. That's where that came from, 42. So I'm counting my head by sixes, guys. But really, this is 3, 6, 9. So like these right here, those are really going by 3. So that'll help us when we are drawing this. This is going to take a while to draw. Sorry. Okay, so then 48 and 54 and 60. Okay. All right, so let's graph the parabola first. So the parabola you can't really cheat on. You want to try to plot all of these points and connect them. The line's going to be much easier because it's just a straight line. So once we got a couple good, nice points, we can just draw a line through it. Okay. So actually, why don't we do the line first? So here we go. So 0, 30 is a point on this line, and that's a nice point for me to plot. Another nice point on here would be 642, because that's just right on the graph. I won't have to guesstimate any spots, so that's good. And where else is good? 948 is a good one. So 9 and 48. Let's see. Guys, I'm graphing this line here, okay? I'm just picking some nice, easy points. And I do want to figure out, I do have to put where it stops. Oh, 1254 is also a good spot. No arrows here. They just wanted the 12-year period. So here we go. Let's just connect that together. And there it is. Okay, so to make my life easier, when I plot this, I know that this spot at 2, right here, not that prettiest point, it's 234, okay? That's got to intersect with this guy, and so does 846. So let's see, 8, and I put 46 about right here. Okay, so those need to be the same. All right, so now let's see. 0, 14. So now I'm plotting this, okay? No arrows or anything like this. I know it's going to be a frowny. Like I said, it's going to be frowny. Can you see that? Sorry. Negative. So a frowny for sure. Okay, here it goes. So 0, 14. About right here. And 125. And I already know that my 2 should be in the same spot there. And 341. And 446. And 549. So remember, this is time consuming, but they're making it up to us by only asking us one question at the end. Where was I? Okay, 650. Not exactly right there, but there's better. Sorry, not perfect. And now these start to repeat. So I'm pretty good at eyeballing where and when the next ones should be, because it's all the same, right? So now these all start to repeat. Back to 25, and then it goes back down to 14. Okay, no ruler for this because it's going to be rounded. And I know that looks a little pointy, so I got to round this out at the top. So almost points. Okay. All right, not the prettiest graph, but it is accurate. I can see my point of intersection. This is going from 0 to 12 years. That's exactly what they told me to do. You might be panicked here, and trust me, I looked it up. You will still get full credit. Some people think that they need to let everyone know that this is years and that this would be the price. Because C, they said, stands for price, the price, right? in X's years, but you don't have to. You would still get full credit. Now, where I'm losing points right now is I haven't done this part yet. Label both equations. Okay, so it specifically told me to do both, so I have to label both. Unfortunately, we don't have, like, they didn't use certain letters. They use the same thing, so I got to write down that entire equation. So, and just make sure that we can see it. It's going to be messy in here, but that's for the line. And then for this, I have to write the entire equation. Okay, they didn't use letters, different letters or a function or anything like that, so not like the other one. Okay. All right. So I've done this now. Graph and label both equations on the set of axes below. Perfect. State all prices. This is where we don't want to lose any points. Prices. X is time in years. C is the prices. So they just want the prices when all the stock values are the same. So stock values the same. The same means equal, right? So stock values same. At $34 and $46. It didn't say when, it just said the prices, so I don't need to mention the time and years or anything like that. But they'll both be 34 at the same time, and they'll both be 46 at the same time. So that's it. That's my answer. Okay, so like I said, I know this was a little bit more work than the first one, and it is a little more difficult. I guess this question is made up for it by there's no explanation necessary or anything like that. This did take us a lot longer. We had a lot more plots to point. Remember, there can be various graphs. Someone maybe did choose to go by fives. That's not necessarily wrong. And you just want to make sure that your intersection points are easy to see. Okay, so we'll be practicing this in class. That's all I have for you. I'll see you all in class. Bye.